Jim Wilson. I'm workshop manager in the architecture department at the University of Brighton. I'm also a maker and designer of my own work in the private sector. So I'm many things. I'm an educator, maker, designer. So the core principles that relate most directly to my work, probably in the special skills part. Number one, develop learning and applying skills for recognising, framing and solving problems. Number two, define problems holistically and analysing from multiple perspectives. Also further on, I guess, given the nature of my work, the focus on technology, know-how and appropriate application for safe, non-toxic, efficient and humanising designs. Certainly these three principles are things that affect my decision making and how I work a great deal. The learning and applying skills, I mean, in my role as a technician, I'm always problem solving and applying the skills I've learned in my professional career and helping the students solve their problems. I think the students learn about sustainability and their responsibility in different ways. They probably get, well, I know they get lectures and they have discussions about it, but practically, often you can see it's not in their working mindset. They will come to the workshop and they just don't consider what materials they're going to use, how they're going to use them, why they're using them. So often I have the opportunity to ask questions there and then, which is quite nice. It makes them think very practically, so they begin to associate that responsibility with actual practical working and when they're making stuff, rather than it feeling maybe like a tag-on. It's something that they discuss rather than actually apply. Analysing from multiple perspectives, I guess the nature of my work, one minute I can be working with students, next minute privately, so there's always a sort of larger picture and different people that I am working for or with. In my own work, if I'm dealing with a private client, we'll start with a conversation about what we're making, and it'll be a design conversation. It'll be, we'll talk about ambition and economics and things. But at the same time, I will get a feel for their position on sustainability. Sometimes that's very strong, and the client will insist on a certain level of detail and approach. Other clients haven't thought about it at all, and they're more interested in getting a good economic price for a job. Then it becomes a challenge for me to insist on ways of working that I'm interested in. But that's the classic sort of client conversation you have. Sometimes I'm educating the client, sometimes they educate me. Often a client will have read something or has seen a new material or something, and they're quite keen for it to be involved in the furniture. So that's interesting for me. It's part of the technology side of things. I don't stand alone and find it all. It's very interesting when a client comes along with an idea and says, can we use this technology, or I'd like to use this technology. And incorporating that into the design, into the work is always very interesting. And of course, technology now, the way it's developed, there's so much more accent on sustainability and how that is applied to not only how things are made, but how they then make things for you. It's quite important. So you choose your technology, sometimes for it being well made itself, if you understand what I mean. Sometimes you choose it because it enables you to do something in a more responsible way. I'm not sure that there is an ideal way of introducing sustainability to the education programme in architecture. It's just important that it's brought up in all levels, I think, and where it's physically appropriate, the business I'm in, actually making stuff, then people can make real decisions about real materials. But they need to understand a broader context and why they're being asked to make those decisions. So the theory is extremely important, and that comes from a more academic structured sort of input to the curriculum. I think sustainability is sort of a I don't know. It's like working within the brief. It's like having a colour in the background, sustainability, and you sort of remember that you're working within that palette. It's sort of broad way of influencing the way you work. So I think it's more. I was going to say state of mind. That's a horrible thing to say, but it's more. It's a sort of ongoing influence on the way you make decisions. Whether that decision is a very small one, about a production technique or something, or more broadly to do with the design of a large scheme of work and how you incorporate sustainability issues into it. It's always there. It's a danger to think that you just strap it on at the end and say, oh yeah, we'll tick those boxes. I think if you're responsible about how you go about making stuff, it's just there in the background, always influencing you. Much like, it's easy to keep in the background the budget of a job. You always have it in your mind. It's a similar sort of influence. It's there in its entirety. It's not just something that you remember to, just refer to or just to appease your own conscience or the clients.